Hi everyone, welcome to the channel. Zen is a wonderful system aimed at achieving the enlightenment of the individual, and it aims at that goal through a direct pointing or attempts to directly point at enlightenment, the results of enlightenment, instead of trying to explain everything through words, because there's an intrinsic difficulty with that approach, and that is the fact that most enlightenment transcends words and the thinking mind and requires a certain amount of mental silence to achieve. Therefore, while words can be used to point the way, Zen tries to do it in a more direct manner. And I'm going to read a few Zen stories because in addition to being illustrative, most of them contain some amount of humor also, and that's enjoyable. So, trying to achieve enlightenment doesn't need to be dry and boring at all. So I'm going to read you some passages from the book, and hopefully you'll like these. All right, I have here this little book. This is an oldie, Zen Flesh and Zen Bones, a collection of Zen and pre-Zen writings. It's an old Doubleday book. It cost all of $1.95 when it was new. So that'll give you an idea. But from the preface, for Orientals, more interested in being than in busyness, the self-discovered man has been most worthy of respect. Such a man proposes to open his consciousness the way the Buddha did. These are stories about such self-discoveries. Zen is not a sect, but an experience. The Zen habit of self-searching through meditation to realize one's true nature with disregard of formalism, with insistence on self-discipline and simplicity of living, ultimately won the support of nobility and ruling classes in Japan, and the profound respect of all levels of philosophical thought in the Orient. It has been said that if you have Zen in your life, you have no fear, no doubt, no unnecessary craving, no extreme emotion, neither illiberal attitudes nor egotistical actions trouble you. You serve humanity humbly, fulfilling your presence in the world with loving kindness and observing your passing as a petal falling from a flower. Serene, you enjoy life in blissful tranquility. Such is the spirit of Zen. And that said, let's pass right on through to some of these stories. Of course, everybody's familiar mostly with the one where the instructor is trying to teach the student something. The student won't learn it, so the instructor points it out using a direct pointing by filling the student's teacup up and then continue pouring after it's full to illustrate the idea that the student's mind is already full. He already thinks he knows what enlightenment everything is. There's no room for wisdom because the student believes he's already full. As they put it at the end of that little story, the professor, being the student, watched the overflow until he could no longer restrain himself. It is overfull. No more will go in. Like this cup, Nansen said, you are full of your own opinions and speculations. How can I show you Zen unless you first empty your cup? Okay, that's the typical one. There's a lot of nice ones. Some of them are long in this book. I'm going to avoid some of the longer ones, though. Some of them are really good. Here's one that impressed me as pointing out the way to take action, or should I say take non-action in Zen. The Zen master, and I'm probably pronouncing names and things wrong, so forgive me. The Zen master Hakuin was praised by his neighbors as one living a pure life. A beautiful Japanese girl whose parents owned a food store lived near him. Suddenly, without any warning, her parents discovered she was with child. This made her parents angry. She would not confess who the man was, but after much harassment, at last named Hakuin. In great anger, the parents went to the master. Is that all? Or is that so? Is all he would say. After the child was born, it was brought to Hakuin. At this time, he had lost his reputation, which did not trouble him, but he took very good care of the child. He obtained milk from his neighbors and everything else with the little one needed. A year later, the girl mother could stand it no longer. She told her parents the truth that the real father of the child was a young man who worked in the fish market. The mother and father of the girl at once went to Hakuin to ask his forgiveness, to apologize at length, and to get the child back again. Hakuin was willing. In yielding the child, all he said was, "Is that so?" Here's another one. There's some interesting ones here. I'm just going to kind of dig through this and read a few of these, and you can listen to as many of them as you want. There was an old woman in China who had supported a monk for over 20 years. She had built a little hut for him and fed him while he was meditating. Finally, she wondered just what progress he had made in all this time. To find out, she obtained the help of a girl rich in desire. Not a rich girl, a girl rich in desire. Go and embrace him, she told her, and then ask him suddenly, "What now?" The girl called upon the monk, and without much ado caressed him, asking him what he was going to do about it. An old tree grows upon a cold rock in winter, replied the monk somewhat poetically. Nowhere is there any warmth. The girl returned and related what he had said. To think that I fed that fellow for 20 years, exclaimed the old woman in anger. He showed no consideration for your need, no disposition to explain your condition. He need not have responded to passion, but at least he could have evidenced some compassion. She at once went to the hut of the monk and burned it down. Tenzin wrote 60 postal cards on the last day of his life and asked an attendant to mail them. Then he passed away. The cards read, "I am departing from this world. This is my last announcement. Tenzin, July 27th, 1892. There have been a few of the monks that have been able to know the day of their passing in the past, at least mythically. There's another story of a similar manner in here. Here's a good one to illustrate the idea of being present in the moment, which I like. Tenzin and Aikido were once traveling together down a muddy road. A heavy rain was still falling. Coming around a bend, they met a lovely girl in a silk kimono and sash, unable to cross the intersection. Come on, girl, Tenzin said at once. Lifting her in his arms, he carried her over the mud. Aikido did not speak again until that night when they reached the lodging temple. Then he could no longer restrain himself. We monks don't go near females, he told Tenzin, especially not young and lovely ones. It is dangerous. Why did you do that? I left the girl there, said Tenzin. Are you still carrying her? And I think that's a pretty good illustration also. A university student, while visiting Gassan, asked him, Have you ever read the Christian Bible? No, read it to me, said Gassan. The student opened the Bible and read from St. Matthew. And why take ye thought for raiment? Consider the lilies of the field, how they grow. They toil not, neither do they spin. And yet I say unto you that even Solomon in all his glory was not arrayed like unto one of these. Take therefore no thought for the morrow shall take thought for things of itself. Gassan said, Whoever uttered those words I consider an enlightened man. The student continued reading. Ask and it shall be given you, seek and ye shall find, knock and it shall be opened unto you. For everyone that asketh receiveth, and he that seeketh findeth, and to he that knocketh it shall be opened. Gassan remarked, That is excellent. Whoever said that is not far from Buddhahood. When Eshun, the Zen nun, was past 60 and about to leave this world, she asked some monks to pile up wood in the yard. Seating herself firmly in the center of the funeral pyre, she had it set fire around the edges. Oh, nun, shouted one monk. Is it hot in there? Such a matter would only concern a stupid person like yourself, answered Eshun. The flames rose, and she passed away. Oh, let's see. There was a couple more here. Where did they go? Okay, this one is called Reciting Sutras. A farmer asked a Tendai priest to recite sutras for his wife, who had died. After the recitation was over, the farmer asked, Do you think my wife will gain any merit from this? Not only your wife, but all sentient beings will benefit from the recitation of sutras, answered the priest. If you say all sentient beings will benefit, said the farmer, my wife may be very weak and others will take advantage of her, getting the benefits she should have. So please recite sutras just for her. The priest explained that it was the desire of a Buddhist to offer blessings and wish merit for every living being. That is a fine teaching, concluded the farmer, but please make one exception. I have a neighbor who is rough and mean to me. Just exclude him from all those sentient beings. Keishu, the great Zen master of the Meiji era, forgive my pronunciations, I'm sure they're wrong, was the head of Tofuku, a cathedral in Kyoto. Probably got that right. One day, the governor of Kyoto called upon him for the first time. His attendant presented the card of the governor, which read, Kitagaki, governor of Kyoto. I have no business with such a fellow, said Keichu to his attendant. Tell him to get out of here. The attendant carried the card back with apologies. That was my error, said the governor. and with a pencil he scratched out the words Governor of Kyoto. Ask your teacher again. Oh, is that Kitagaki? Exclaimed the teacher when he saw the card. I want to see that fellow. Okay, we'll do just a few more. Several short ones here. When Banzan was walking through a market, he overheard a conversation between a butcher and his customer. Give me the best piece of meat you have, said the customer. Everything in my shop is best, replied the butcher. You cannot find here any piece of meat that is not the best. At these words, Banzan became enlightened. So, this one is titled In Dreamland. Our schoolmaster used to take a nap every afternoon, related a disciple of Soyin Shaku. We children asked him why he did it, and he told us, I go to the dreamland to meet the sages, just as Confucius did. When Confucius slept, he would dream of ancient sages and later tell his followers about them. It was extremely hot one day, so some of us took a nap. Our schoolmaster scolded us. We went to dreamland to meet the ancient sages the same way Confucius did, we explained. What was the message from those sages? Our schoolmaster demanded. One of us replied, we went to dreamland and met the sages and asked them if our schoolmaster came there every afternoon, but they said they had never seen such a fellow. When Mamiya, who later became a well-known preacher, went to a teacher to ask for personal guidance, he was asked to explain the sound of one hand. Mamiya concentrated upon what the sound of one hand might be. You are not working hard enough, his teacher told him. You are too attached to food, wealth, things, and that sound. It would be better if you died. That would solve the problem. The next time Mamiya appeared before his teacher, he was again asked what he had to show regarding the sound of one hand. Mamiya at once fell over as if he were dead. You are dead, all right, observed the teacher. But what about that sound? Haven't solved that yet, replied Mamiya, looking up. Dead men do not speak, replied the teacher. Get out! Okay. Learning to be silent. The pupils of the Tendai school used to study meditation before Zen entered Japan. 4 of them, who were intimate friends, promised one another to observe 7 days of silence. On the first day all were silent. Their meditation had begun auspiciously, but when night came and the oil lamps were growing dim, one of the few pupils could not help to exclaim to a servant, Fix those lamps. The second pupil was surprised to hear the first one talk. We were not supposed to say a word, he remarked. You two are stupid. Why did you talk? Asked the third. I am the only one who has not talked, concluded the fourth pupil. Two Zen teachers, Daigo and Gudo, were invited to visit a lord. Upon arriving, Gudo said to the lord, You are wise by nature and have an inborn ability to learn Zen. Nonsense, said Daigo. Why do you flatter this blockhead? He may be a lord, but he doesn't know anything of Zen. So instead of building a temple for Gudo, the Lord built it for Daigo and studied Zen with him. Hogan, a Zen teacher, lived alone in a small temple in the country. One day, 4 traveling monks appeared and asked if they might make a fire in his yard to warm themselves. While they were building the fire, Hogan heard them arguing about subjectivity and objectivity. He joined them and said, There is a big stone. Do you consider it to be inside or outside of your minds? One of the monks replied, from the Buddhist viewpoint, everything is an objectification of mind, so I would say that the stone is inside my mind. Your head must feel very heavy, observed Hogan, if you are carrying around a stone like that in your mind. I think that's probably enough by now. This little book is full of fun stories that all have some relation to the truth, and I really like that method of direct pointing towards reality as much as they can. So we'll call this good for now. Thank you for watching. If you watched this far, congratulations. Blessed be. Goodbye.